to OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan, and there he is, James Duthie in the house. JD, how we feeling?
I feel fine. I feel great.
Yeah?
It was a beautiful day out there. In with my boys watching the game tonight. We have some good times.
Okay.
There should be a camera in that room, don't you think? Oh, like there's the off-camera banter could be a show.
It's a podcast anyway.
Yeah, the swearing and stuff. Yeah, there wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, some of the stories are a little offside, mostly by the person to my right.
Yeah, we've all witnessed them. We've all heard them. We've all seen them, and I'm sure there's going to be more to it tonight. Although
Drager can go a little blue.
Yeah, he goes to some dark spots.
He is. He's Darren Drager is quietly dark.
Okay, I like that. So do you expect him to be dark in the pregame leading?
I don't think
tonight?
he's not there tonight. I think it's Dis or Dat.
That's right.
Dis or
Marty
Dat
Baron.
from Buffalo.
Yeah.
Marty Baron's in the house. That's right. We're going to see Marty a little bit later.
Right.
So where are you guys going with the pregame then, JD? Like we've done our pregame the last hour. We'll continue to do it. The game's at 8 tonight, but
yeah, I mean, I think the guy.
Start?
I mean, it's probably going to start the way it always starts with can the big boys show up? And I feel I laugh asking it because how many times have we asked it in the past 8 years? But it is really the question. I'm sure Marty will get into Wohl, whose numbers aren't very good. He seems way down the list of problems right now, but it is still a problem. Like he's 18th in save percentages and 8 out of the 9 goalies left who've actually played.
He is a factor. Like if he stinks the drain out in the first period, it's like who cares with?
Well, because here's my sort of thought is, okay, obviously the Leafs have to show up, and Berube says it's all about mental, it's not about the other stuff. And I mean, the thing is, they could show up. They could all show up and still lose just because the Panthers are the Panthers. So, I mean, if both we expect the Panthers to show up. So if both teams show up and play their best game, the Panthers could easily win this game. I think that's part of the storyline, and the goaltender at the other end has been significantly better. So that's one issue. The one thing I would say about the whole attitude thing is that I think Wednesday night was rock bottom. And so I don't think the Leafs have anything to lose tonight in regards to reputation, etc. If they lose 5-0 again tonight, I don't think it's any worse. I don't think people think any worse than they already do because of Wednesday. And so, I think that they should be able to just go out and lay everything on the line because of that. It's kind of like you have a horrible front nine in golf and then you stop caring and you start just swinging, and sometimes you suddenly play better.
No, but Jimmy,
maybe there's an element of that to Toronto tonight.
How many games have we started the pregame with? Well, nothing left, like empty the tank, and then after the game we're like, man, that was disappointing.
Yeah, but it's not about emptying the tank. Like I'm just more from the mental standpoint of I don't think there's any reason to squeeze the sticks or be anxious or just because everybody already thinks the worst of you right now.
Well, but if you listen to them, they'll claim that they don't hear any of that.
Of course
right?
they do,
like
but
Matthews,
we never believe it.
Of course, totally. I'm being sarcastic because Matthews referenced it today. About scoring and he keeps shooting and all the other stuff. Well, we don't care. We don't hear any of that. Of course, yes, you do. You're well aware. They're all well aware. They live here. They're from here. They've been here for a long time. They know exactly how people are responding.
Of course they do.
And, I think there's something to that, an element of you've got nothing to lose.
I mean, nothing to lose is not the right way to phrase it.
Yeah,
of course there's a lot to lose. I mean, this will probably be the last go of it with this group if they lose. I'm just saying that there is no reason to be anxious, tense, nervous. What are they, because like I said, they hit rock bottom on Wednesday night with that performance. I don't think it can possibly be worse, and I don't think it will be. I don't know that they'll win, but I do think they'll show up tonight.
Jimmy, if they don't get it done tonight, and I know you like to direct traffic behind the camera for different docs and videos, and if it all gets broken up and Tavares doesn't come back, it's just the end of the line for these guys. And you are in charge of the documentary of the core four. What would you focus on the main thing to be?
I unfortunately, I think a documentary has to have like highs and lows, and there aren't too many highs. unless
you didn't have to really dig.
Unless you just do a regular season doc, the core 4 regular season 5-part series on Crave.
That would be great.
That would be amazing.
That would be
So
outstanding.
you can't do a docu-series unless there's.
Well, but there's no like the great docu-series are, great triumphs and humiliating losses in between, and there's nothing there unless you count like going to the second round twice as the great victories. That's the problem.
Right. It's like the 04 Sox.
Yeah.
Like if they just lost in game 4 and kept losing all the time, you can't do a doc on Pedro and Manny. And
now, again, a perspective step back again. I know that's really hard to do right now in the city, but it has been it's a good run. To make the playoffs all these years in a row is an impressive feat.
Yeah, you could be Detroit or Buffalo.
Yeah, there's a lot. And right now, there's how many teams left with the teams that have been knocked out? What are there? 6, 1, 2 teams have won. There's 6 teams left. Right?
6 teams left.
6. Yeah. I don't know.
Last 6.
That took longer than it should have in my mind.
I wasn't even going to attempt it.
Yeah.
But you're one of the last 6 teams left. And that, again, there's an awful lot of teams would love to be in your position down 3-2 in a series. And you've made it to the second round, and there's little steps there. But back to your question of the documentary, it's certainly not the highest of highs. There's just not enough highs in there to make that film.
And the thing is, too, guys, it's not like Hayes said. They're not down 3-0. It's 3-2. If they win tonight, they've got a game 7 and an opportunity to win the series. So it's critical. Yes, statistically, we were quoting the numbers yesterday. I didn't even remember them, like 23% or something like that, wasn't it, Hayes?
Yep.
Something like that. But in the end, I don't think we should be talking looking ahead or looking back until we see what happens tonight. And then you go, hey, they gave themselves a chance. Now we got a game 7, or didn't go well. And then we do the postmortem. Right. I feel like yesterday we did too much postmortem and it's not over. That's the thing. It felt like that and was such an ugly loss. And we were, rightfully as fans and in the media member and all of that to talk about it. That's our job. But in the end, they lost. And you got to find a way to get off the mat and try and win a game tonight. That has to be the focus. And I think that's what Craig Berube's been trying to say is I can talk about X's and O's all I want. What I need is guys to go play and play hard, and let's see how this unfolds here. And then, they don't forget how to play hockey. It just, Florida's a damn good team, and I think it's going to be a coin flip tonight. I really do. I think it'll be a hard-fought game.
Well, and if it is, that's where, again, Joseph Wall will come into play. That's where, a bounce one way or the other could come into play.
Do you feel any better if they win tonight and have a great effort in Game 7 but lose in overtime or something? Do you feel better?
I think from a big picture standpoint, from a documentary standpoint, no. Right? It doesn't allow the doc to get green lit for a big budget because in the end there was no triumph. But I do think it would be worth something. It's worth something. Like to go out the way they went out the other night, and if you're performing any capacity to in a similar fashion tonight, that is incredibly daunting. So I do think it would be worth something. I don't think we're in a world anymore in Toronto where there's no moral victories, there's no patting on the back if you lose. Like you got to win. 7 or 8 years ago there would have been. Right, it would have been worth a lot. It could have been a learning experience. It could have catapulted you into something new in the future. It's not gonna land now, and it's not gonna be worth anything now, ultimately. But I think in the moment, it would
leave a better taste in your mouth for the summer. That would exactly. That would be about it.
There's a weird kind of torture element to that, like dragging everyone back into the building on Sunday, and then it's a close game, and you lose at Game 7 as opposed to just getting it out of the way. Like if you're going to lose, maybe it's better just to do it tonight. But
such a horrible way.
It's a horrible
but a fair way to look at it.
It is a horrible way to look at it.
It's horrible.
But it's. I think.
But I've heard that from half a dozen Leaf fans over the last.
I think if you offered Leaf fans, they either lose tonight or lose Game 7. Most would say just get it over with tonight.
I'm going to out Puffy, our producer, who's a diehard blue and white. I passed him in the hallway right now. He says, "How you feeling?" He goes, "Fine, hoping for a loss. Want to get it over with."
Yeah, sickening. Sickening mentality.
It is.
But I blame the team and the players for that. Like that's what they've done to their own fans. Unfortunately, that's what they've done to their biggest diehard fans. That it's a sickening vibe. And yet, the crazy thing is they're 2 wins away from completely flipping that.
Right.
Well, and those fans will be right back on that bandwagon.
Absolutely.
The doc is green-lit.
Yes.
If they come back and win this series.
Big time.
I don't care what happens in the next series. It's green-lit.
Hayes is executive producer, and you are the main dude.
Director or voice? Just the voice guy.
Who's above executive director?
Executive producer.
Like producer,
He'd probably be executive producer. Would probably be the
Anyway,
big guy.
you and Hayes, if they get back here Sunday, the doc starts, and you guys have to get in a room and start putting your minds together, because I'll be on board.
Okay.
All of us are in it.
All right, we're all gonna work together here and make this happen. But it is crazy that they're lucky enough to have that opportunity. Like they and who knows how the players might react. You know, if it ever got to a point where they went on some great run, they might resent people and resent fans. And I remember the Raptors had that. I remember Fred VanVleet having this really weird kind of drop the mic moment at the parade about people doubting them. It's like, why is that even coming up now? You won.
Every team does that.
But every team does it. Every athlete remembers it, and I'm sure
we
the
shocked
players
the world.
Yeah, exactly.
How many parades have said that?
Everyone shocks the world. Exactly.
Some team goes like they finish first in their division by, whatever the sport is, 15 points or 9.5 games, and then we shocked the world.
Right. The Dodgers shocked the world last year. But this would be shocking the world if the Leafs could find a way to do it. And
would the doc still be green lit if the Leafs came back and won in 7 and then got swept by Carolina?
It would be a damper.
It would not be.
Would we stop the doc in the middle of the doc?
I think someone would shut down the funding.
I think so, too. It might go right into...
We'd all be CC'd on an email.
Sean Cohen, the head of Bell Media, we cannot do this, guys.
Yeah,
we
this
cannot
will not
go
be
ahead
happening.
with this.
Crave will not be associated with this. This is something, if you want to do in podcast form, you can do on your own.
Yeah.
But, I think it would probably...
I heard a podcast the other day. Somebody made a documentary about Prince. The same guy that made the OJ doc, the really good one. I know there's been a lot of OJ series, but like the 4-5-part doc that I think aired on ESPN 5, 6, 7 years ago, won, I think, an Academy Award. He made a doc about Prince. Netflix made an agreement with Prince. He's got all this behind-the-scenes footage. And he made like this 8-part documentary. It's like 12 hours or something that is supposed to be one of the greatest films ever. And then the Prince people saw it, and they vetoed it, and then Netflix didn't want to lose the thing, so they canceled it. So this movie's never going to be seen by anyone. It's never going to be seen.
That's so disappointing.
And that would be the reason I tell this too long story is that would be our documentary. It would be shoved back.
It would be
shelved.
Back
It would be shelved.
They got swept by Carolina.
Yeah, why isn't there more Prince stuff, man? That guy was crazy.
I saw him in concert live in Minneapolis. He was unbelievable. He's like 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
And he was wearing red high-heeled shoes, like these red high-heeled boots or what. I'm not lying.
Oh, yeah, he's really small. Women
Tiny.
Everywhere. The guy apparently didn't sleep. Like
apparently there's
6, 7
hundreds of hours that he shot of himself performing in his house and everything, but the guy wanted to do an honest doc about the dark side of Prince, and the Prince people wanted no part of it. So it got shot.
That Purple Rain movie was a little bit of a documentary, wasn't it, about his life and stuff with his dad? That movie was powerful, man. Like that was honest to God, when I played in Minnesota, like he was everywhere.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
that
sorry
was,
that I just completely got us on a rant here, but yeah.
Massive in Minnesota from
was
there.
massive.
He was the original Drake. He lived on the bridle path for a while.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Like very talented too.
4 foot.
I think 5'3" is the official height.
4 feet.
He was.
I was going to say like 4 feet tall.
5'3" in heels.
In heels.
5'3" in heels.
There is.
He definitely wore heels at some points.
Yes, but I saw him live on stage, and he was wearing the big heels, and I'm telling you, he was still 4 feet tall then. He was just a little man, but he was unbelievable.
He could shred a guitar, man. He was good.
Unbelievable.
JD, let me throw this at you. We got breaking news in the NFL. The Niners and quarterback Brock Purdy are finalizing a 5-year, $265 million contract.
Dude, I'm sorry. That's a mistake. I love the guy. He puts up numbers, but no way in hell. No way.
So I agree with you. I just don't think he's that. I think he's a really good quarterback on a really good team. I think he's a decent quarterback on a bad team. But it's kind of, I resolved myself that this was going to happen because I said in the offseason, if they could get him like 35 or 40 million, as crazy as that sounds for people that don't follow the NFL, that would be a bargain.
Yep.
But it's just impossible. It's impossible that you don't get 50 million now if you're, one of the top 15 starting quarterbacks in the league when your deal comes up. So,
yeah, that's the reality, man.
It's kind of a shrug to shoulder reality, but I'm with you guys. I think I don't think he's going to be ever a top, 5, 6, 7 quarterback in this league, and that's what $260 million should get you.
That's what's concerning.
Wow.
Because
the only thing he's got going for him is the Niners have the easiest schedule in the NFL this year, so they might have a little bit of a comeback season.
Maybe you got health, and you still got Shanahan, who's great in the regular season. Shanahan's a lot like, not quite the Leafs in the playoffs because he has been to Super Bowls, but you got a scenario there where he walked into a perfect situation, unbelievable offensive line, best left tackle in the game. McCaffrey comes over. They got Kittle, who they just paid. The concern is like, what is Purdy when these guys aren't there?
Well, and they didn't draft a single, maybe one offensive lineman, and they're a little weak there. They're kind of rebuilding a little bit on D's, so it's a huge year for him. The guy played for nothing the last years and got him to a Super Bowl and did some great things, so you knew he was going to get paid. But I'm with you. I wish that you could look at a guy like that, or I wish a guy like that, for the sake of the team, would take $40 million a year.
How
and
dare you.
leave you, $15 million to whatever, go get, a couple of offensive linemen, but that's just not the way it works anymore.
Well, Luke Wilson's one of his biggest fans, maybe his biggest. Like, Luke goes to war for Brock Purdy all the time. He thought he should have won the MVP a couple of years ago. So
I think it's kind of become a bit, though, between him and Davis a little bit.
Okay. Well, then that might be understandable. But he's sold it well with us, man. He's sold it as a Purdy guy. But, man, that's big money. That is big, big money for Brock Purdy. Yeah. James Duthie with us. Which Canadian team that's down 3-2 in their current series do you think has a better chance of getting through, the Jets or the Leafs?
I'd say the Jets, only because they're the ones coming off a 4-0 win, and the Leafs are coming off a 6-1 loss, and both are going on the road in tough places the way the Jets have played on the road. But I just think maybe they got a little more jam going to them right now. And if they got back to a Game 7, they might be favored. I'm not sure Toronto would be favored in a Game 7 at home against Florida. So I had marginal differences, I think, but maybe the Jets by a slight bit.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable recency bias to an extent based on what we just saw. But, I think that is probably worthy of being the case. Because you have to believe, we keep talking about bounces and all these intangibles, that at some point the Jets are going to snap out of it on the road. Like, at some point, Hellebuck is going to play like he's capable of playing on the road and give them a chance tomorrow night.
Well, I'll tell you what, that last night, Winnipeg was all over them. They couldn't beat that Ottinger early on. And I was thinking, oh, my God, they're going to do it again here. And then they get a favorable bounce. Goes off of a stick, off of a skate, in the net, and then they find a way to break through. But Winnipeg was a better team, and that Scheifele took a pretty good left shot.
I didn't think that was a suspendable punch, though, personally. I mean, Ben
Well, he got fined, right? He got
fined,
on the books.
exactly.
I think it's not suspendable because you're engaged. Like, I think a sucker punch has to be when you're not engaged, right? And if you're – I've heard hockey people say this for years because we had a few debates on these before, and I think that if you're somehow engaged in something that the idea is that you have to expect that it could happen.
Sorry, that's a 2-minute penalty for roughing. Let's get serious here. What the hell are we talking about?
I couldn't believe the debate that it was a suspendable play.
Well,
I mean,
like people,
he popped them. But
people outraged for a what are you watching? That was a 2-minute roughing penalty.
Especially in the playoffs, I agree. The other thing, too, though, all I could think of, if you're on the Winnipeg side, this guy's just coming back off a concussion. Last thing you need to be doing is getting popped in the head.
Trying to think of a suck. Brad May suckered Janssen. I guess it was Anaheim, maybe Minnesota, the year that Anaheim won the Cup, I think 2007. And there was a big controversy and discussion over it because if you could look up that video, if you look that up on YouTube, it looks pretty much like a sucker punch, but Brad still argues to this day, I think, that
Janssen say he didn't do anything wrong.
Janssen should have seen it coming because I think there was some sort of scrum or something coming, but Mayday, they won the Cup that year, so it didn't matter. So that's the last time I remember sort of a sucker punch being suspended in the playoffs. I'm sure I've missed 4 or 5.
Well, what was Domi's on Boogaboom? Was it Domi on Boogaboom or Domi on?
He was on Ulf Samuelsson.
Ulf Samuelsson.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
He got eight games or something for that.
That would have been 100 in today's game.
That one was
take
vicious,
a year off.
Man.
That was a gutless sucker punch. Like that was one of the worst sucker punches you've ever seen. And Ulf Samuelsson, he earned a lot of, like, people hated his guts. Like, he was a dirty, dirty player. But that was one of the most. Didn't he drop his glove too?
Right in front of the net. It was right in front of the net, and Domi did the, like, I'm looking this way. Oh, what's going on over there? And then he just turned and smoked him. Like,
there was Matt Johnson on Jeff Boogaboom too. That ended his career. That one was ugly.
Yeah.
Ugly.
There's been some bad ones over the years. Like bad punches, bad elbows thrown.
But last night, that wasn't.
That's not even close to a suspendable play. I'm surprised they fined him. I mean, I think it was O'Neill was angry and it's Scheifele, and you mentioned the head. He's had a concussion issue, or we believe it was. That's something that possibly could have factored in. But come on, let's keep it rolling here going into Game 6 tomorrow. All right, JD. Well,
here we go.
Oh yeah, which one's is this? This is on Samuelsson. All right, so this is that's a crazy dive by Samuelsson right there. But here we go. All right, looking the other way. Hey, what's going on over there? Wait a minute. I'm just
the glove comes off too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he drops the glove and knocks him out.
That was a wild, wild sucker punch.
I think the worst.
Different time.
The worst one is Matt Johnson on Jeff Boogaboom, because they're both 6'5" monsters. Mm-hmm. And that one was one of the ugliest.
I don't remember that one. I'll look for it.
Yeah, because Boogaboom was playing for the Rangers. That's all I remember.
Behind the net now.
Yeah, right by the net. It was ugly.
Yeah,
ugly,
that's tough,
ugly.
man. That's tough.
Yeah.
All right, well, we've got a possible documentary in the works here, JD, and we could have a very busy weekend, right? O's putting us to work, evidently.
Boys, if they take it back Sunday morning, we have a conference call.
We have a meeting?
We have a meeting.
Start storyboarding this thing?
We'll have a vision board. Ideas.
Episode 1, the drafting of Auston Matthews.
Yes.
I love where this is going. It's tracking on the right tracks, Hayes. Come on.
Everything's coming together for a Leafs miracle and a documentary that is equally as miraculous.
Voiced by Will Arnett, or do we have to go a little further?
Great question.
I think we go up. Joe Bowen.
Yeah, Bowen.
Yes, Bones.
Not Mike Myers. But
well, Mike Myers elbows up. Maybe he'll find a way to.
He's on the Diddy list. None for him.
Yeah, well, we'll see. All right, JD, enjoy the game tonight.
We will, boys. Good luck to all you Leaf fans out there. Okay.
Yes, we will. We will. Everyone's looking forward to it. There he is, James Duthie. He'll be on the panel tonight. Oh, you're off to do some panel work yourself tonight, right?
We'll be chatting this evening, boys.
We'll be around. Get that group chat going. I don't want to instigate it every night. I try to get everyone engaged.
Monday morning, we start fundraising.
Okay, fundraising on Monday morning. I love it. There it is. James Duthie, Jeff O'Neill, Mike Johnson coming up, Marty Baron later this afternoon. Dear Hazy B, Overdrive continues. All right, Millen and Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This playoff season, Boston Pizza is planning the parade and has an all-star playoffs menu for you to enjoy. For pizza, pints, and puck drops, visit your local Boston Pizza today. I throw it all the time, patio weather. This is the definition of it, man. The beauty of tonight is we're going into a long weekend. It's like 30 degrees outside, or feels like it. Leafs played 8 o'clock. Like, you couldn't ask for a better night to settle in, patio, watch the game. And, ideally the Leafs were up 3-2, and this was a chance to close. Then you'd really have a party on your hands. But they can find a way to win tonight, then you're going 7, right? And before the series started, a lot of people thought this is going 6 or 7, or 7. Right, and it's taken ebbs and flows, and the Leafs were rocking through 2 games and into the second period of Game 3 and even into overtime into Game 3. Since then, the tide has turned significantly, but you still got a shot tonight, and we'll catch up with Mike Johnson here in a moment. I've seen Adam Foote, obviously, was speaking with the media. Someone just posting Doogie sending me something from the province, the newspaper out there, about Rick Tockett's advice for Adam Foote, because he and Foote are obviously very close.
Yes, yeah.
And Foote's, top of the list priority, of course, is to get Pettersson back to where he needs to be. And this article has some quotes here from Foote that Rick Tocchet suggested to, quote, have an itinerary for the day. When Petey walks in the door and we have our hands on him, give him a plan. This guy's going to work with you for 15 or 20 minutes on the power play sidewall. This is going to happen, and so on, and so on, and so on, end quote. That is a wild. Like, this guy's, what is he, 26 years old, the highest paid player on the team?
And you got a kid gloves him?
And you got to babysit him and have an itinerary when he walks in the door?
I'm sorry, I don't like that.
That's not good, man.
No.
That is not, I mean, it doesn't mean it's not sound advice. It doesn't mean it's not coming from a position of, positivity, like we got to work with him, we got to get him going, he's our guy.
Right.
But for that to be public, like, when he walks in, man, if you don't tell him exactly what to do, he's just going to, sit in the corner and play video games?
It's a bad look on Pettersson. It's like we literally have to keep this guy engaged and focused on what the task at hand. I mean, if this guy was a superstar and a leader and all that, like, he would be the guy going, this is what I want to work on. Like Sidney Crosby, you hear the stories, from year one in the league, he would go home in the offseason and work on things that he felt he needed to work on. Obviously, early in your career, a lot of young guys struggle at the center ice dot, just winning draws. So he would work on it, like details. At 25, 26 years old, if you need to kid glove the guy and keep him on point and have an itinerary for him, it doesn't. I think it's a really bad look for the player.
Yeah, exactly. It would suggest he's not motivated enough to do it on his own. You see a lot of coaches in the league with veteran players; they just leave them alone.
Yeah,
like, obviously you got to have meetings and you got to run drills and all that, but. You mentioned Sid. There's no way Mike Sullivan at any point said, "Hey, I better tell Sid that we're going to do this, and then can you maybe do that?" Never. But it would appear as if Adam Foote is already waiting for that, embracing that idea when it comes to Elias Pettersson. Here's Mike Johnson, our TSN Hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Johnny, I was just referencing a quote from Foote where I guess Rick Tocchet suggested that he have an itinerary for the day prepared for Pettersson when he walks in the door. Like, isn't that just a wild thing to say?
What are we doing?
Yeah. That's how bad it is.
Okay, at 9:30, we go outside. At 10, we do apples and on the carpet. At 10:30, we get a nap. Like, what are we talking about here? This guy makes $12 million. Okay, if you need an itinerary, like, this is what we're doing to practice, everyone gets one? Okay, like, I played for Andy Murray. He was a detailed coach. He had a by-the-minute itinerary of the sort of 2 hours you're at the rink. Stretch, meeting, on ice, drill, 52-minute practice, we're out. Okay, I mean, that's just one way to be organized, but to be specific, and every day you got to be there, and I read it, like, got to have your hands on him. When he walks in, say, okay, you're going to do some half-wall stuff here, and then we're going to do shooter-tutor, and then we're going to do penalty-killing routes. Like, I mean, I guess you have to do what you have to do, and everyone's different, but it's far from ideal, and what makes it worse, guys, is you mentioned Sid, Noodles.
Yes.
If he's your best player, or he's not your best player, your best forward, your highest paid forward, you'd like him to set the example, not be the guy who has to be babysat. You'd like him to be the guy who's independently driven that would then filter the rest of the group, as opposed to the opposite, where he's at the other end of the spectrum, where he's the guy who needs more attention than anyone, even though he gets the rewards of the contract and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It just, I don't know, Johnny. I mean, give me your interpretation. You got Rick Tocchet, who's very well liked. Sounds like Vancouver wants to re-sign him. And now, if this is a monetary thing, I get it. If it's a term thing, all of that type of stuff. But is it not a bad look for for a coach to say no thanks to an organization he's already been in for a couple years? So that says to me he's seen what goes on behind the curtain, and he doesn't want any more of it.
Yes, but I think it hasn't been said out loud too many times, but I do think Rick Tocchet was interested in going back to the Northeast United States for some family reasons.
That's fair.
So if he had the luxury and he had family, whatever, I'm not exactly sure what was going on, but if that would make his life better, then that would be part of the equation. But Noodles, make no mistake, if Vancouver was the perfect market for him, the perfect team for him, the perfect organization for him, just about every single coach in the league would find a way to make that work in Vancouver and sort out the family stuff and travel or move them, whatever, private planes, however you want to make it work. But it wasn't enough to make him want to stay, whether it's money, whether it's term, whether it's team, whether it's competitive window, whatever. Yeah, it does, it is a bit different that a team wants to resign a coach, wants to pay him market value, and he says, no, I want to go somewhere else. Doesn't happen very often, but I do think for talking specifically, there may be a little bit extenuating circumstances to go along with the stuff that you're talking about.
With Mike Johnson, our TSN Hockey analyst. So Game 6, Leafs-Panthers tonight. I'm going to present this to you, okay? I'll give you the final. I won't even give you the final score. I'm just going to give you the final result. Leafs win tonight. They win the game. Is it more likely because Joseph Woll stood on his head, or more likely because the core four dragged them to that victory?
Joseph Woll.
I
mean, I say that pretty definitively.
Yeah.
For both sides. I mean, the first side being that Florida's good. Florida's going to push. Florida's going to make it difficult. Florida's going to be busy. Florida's going to challenge and pepper Woll, so we'll have to be good. I'm very confident that that's likely to be the case. And then, certainly there's a possibility, because you say the core four is four guys. Could William Nylander have a night with two? Mm-hmm. Sure. With the other guys doing nothing? Sure. But I'm less confident of that happening than I am of the Florida Panthers laying an egg and making Joseph Woll nights easier. So, yeah, I think at least win. Goaltending will have to be one of the frontline stories, because if he's not, then they don't.
Yeah. I think that's probably the reasonable answer, Noodles.
I was going to say, I mean, Johnny, if you were Craig Berube here, because we've been talking obviously now for 2 days about this game and this stinker that they put up, what would you be more focused on, the X and O's of it or their mental psyche?
I've thought about this the last 2 days myself, Noodles, about the team, about if I was the coach, what would you approach it? Okay, the X's and O's sort of feel easy. Okay, what did Toronto do better early that they haven't done later? To me, it's mostly their ability to handle the forecheck and exit their own end. Right? They were just better, cleaner, quicker going back. Some of it's winning more battles, but, just moving the puck out of their own end, turning it over. So that is an X's and O's. I think also early we saw them get into Bobrovsky's face, something like the Nylander goal in Game 1 was right along the ice. Mitch Marner's goal, screens in front for Bobrovsky, give him trouble, like every goaltender. So, yeah, there's some X's and O's you want to address. But the X's and O's are almost inconsequential if you can't wrap the minds and the emotions and the hearts of the guys collectively, not just the four guys, but everybody, to get in a place that will allow them to play with the intensity and sort of bravado that is required to play against any team, but especially Florida at this point in the season. So I guess I'm aware of the X's and O's, but it's so secondary to me, Noodles. But I don't know. So I come to that conclusion. But the question I pose back to you guys is, how does Craig Berube rehabilitate the egos or the confidence or the belief or the will in 2 days? For the group and for the individuals, that is a monumental task, because they would have been extraordinarily low and fragile after Game 5. And I don't know, if it's private challenges, one-on-one meetings, hype video. I don't know which way they go with it, Noodles, but that's where I would have spent, if I'm Craig Berube, the last 2 days thinking about.
Yeah. And listen, there's been a lot built up over the years about Berube's intensity and his ability to hype people up. That famous, inside the room, Game 7, Bruins speech. Can you play it in Game 6 of the second round? I mean, that's Game 7 of the Cup final.
Oh, yes. Right? Yes.
You can? Okay.
Listen, you go to your Newt Rockney, you go to your Mark Messier, you go to whatever you think it is, and you give your best. I don't care if you empty the holster, Hayes, and you got nothing for next game.
Yeah.
I don't care. Whatever you got to play it now, because I think that's the way the Leafs have to look at obviously it's a must-win for them, but they can't worry for a second about what's coming next if they happen to be successful. It is only completely about right now for the coaches, for the players, for everyone in the organization, just about 7 o'clock, whenever 7:30, whenever the game starts, and being ready to do it then.
Well, quickly, let me follow up on this because you mentioned the X's and O's noodles and, the intangibles and the rah-rah and the mental. I'm curious what you make of the news of the day today that he's not going to split up Matthews and Marner. Like, he's keeping that line intact. How does that factor into what you're saying? Like, in terms of the mentality, like not trying to panic, trying to trust them, trying to prove that you trust them. Would it maybe have been actually more relieving mentally if he got them away from each other? Said, guys, we need a fresh start going into Game 6 tonight, and you're all going to play with different people. Where do you stand on that decision?
One, I'm not surprised, given that they've played together almost exclusively the whole year. And I think you hit it. Like, there's a lot of ways you could spin this decision or non-decision. And I think if I'm the Leafs, if I'm the coaching staff, I spin it as a quasi-positive. I'm not breaking you up because I don't need to break you up. I'm not breaking you up because we were a better team than this team over there during the regular season with you two together. Mitch, I'm not taking you away from Auston because you had 100 and something points this year, best year of your life playing with him. Auston, you scored 70 last year playing with him. We don't need you guys apart from each other. We need you to be together and to be good together. Like, that's how you're trying to spin it. And I do think if you put Auston with the two different guys and Mitch on the second line with Tavares and Willie on the third line with the Swedes, like, I do think in an elimination game when he's done very little of that this year, Hayes, right? He hasn't really experimented. It's been Auston and Mitch and largely Matthew Nyes, and it's been Nylander, Tavares, and a myriad of other guys. So you can swap out the other guys. But if you start switching with everything else, I think it would indicate a degree of panic because it's not something you've ever done before. Whether it's appropriate or not, it would come across that way. And so I get why he's saying, no, I'm not changing them because I trust them, because I believe in them. He can't say anything else but that, but there's probably an element of truth to it. This is who the team is. You don't just concede defeat because it's not going on your plan A, but this is the team. This is the team that was good and won the division, and you're going to go down sink or swim with the group that got you there, built the way they got you there.
Yeah, I agree. I think, if anything, you don't challenge them, but you just say, I know what you're capable of. Play to your capabilities, and that's it. Like, and go at it and see if you can beat that team head on. What do you make of, obviously, in the last couple of days it's been noisy, but would it be a distraction for everyone's talking about Marner and going to free agency, and obviously he was asked in the scrums and that, because that's come right back up, that topic, and it was quiet there for a long time, and he's kept it quiet all season, but now obviously with what's happened recently, it's right forefront.
I mean, it did come up in a big way, though, right? For a story that was largely a non-story. It's a big organizational story, but in the media, right, and in the public, it hasn't been something that people were focused on because the team was good and he was good. And so That's all that people cared about. But it did come like an avalanche the last couple of days. But, Mitch has dealt with this and dealt with it well all year. He knows what's going on. He knows what's at stake. He knows what offers may or may not have been coming, whatever. He knows about the Rantanen trade. He knows about all that stuff. And he's dealt with it well because he's played really well for almost the entire regular season this year. So, I imagine the last 2 days were not very much fun for Mitch Marner, right? Like, the degree with which the venom that went his way, which, deserved in many ways, but, that would not have been fun. But I thought he's done a good job all year long, sort of focusing on the task of playing and not worrying about the future. Now, the future could be 60 minutes away, so it might be harder to knock that out of your brain, but I guess you're going to have to trust that he did it all year long to the benefit of himself and the team. And, even if you have to tap in, Mitch, you're leaving, you want a lot of money, the best way to go get more money? Play well. Win the game. Be a difference. Be the guy you are. And even if that means you're leaving us for more, you'll get more if you play better on your way out the door than if we lose timidly here in Game 6. So I don't know if you have that conversation with him. I don't think you would. I'm not sure who would, right? With Tree Living, with Berube. I can't imagine someone sitting down and having that conversation. It'd be awkward to have, but in his mind, maybe his family, his agent, whatever, his closest friends might have that conversation. But he's dealt with it all year, so he's going to deal with it well, and hopefully it doesn't bother him tonight that it might be his last game of the Leafs.
Yeah, I mean, he would be the one that would have to, I think, convince himself that, and ideally the reason you go out there and perform is for your teammates and for the team and for the fans and all that. And I'm sure
not really for the fans, Hayes.
Yeah, I guess not for the fans. I guess. No. And
you think in the last 2 days he's going into tonight's game going, I'm going to do it for those fans?
No, he's probably not.
No, he's thinking, I'll do it for myself, my family, these guys in the room, this organization that has been good to me, and that's what I care about. And for sure, there will be, I mean, it's a long ways away, but if they ever were able to win these 2 games, a big double salute to everyone who dumped all over them the last 2 days. Like, that is somewhere in their minds. It would be great to prove all these people wrong who feel that they've been proven right by criticizing the makeup of these guys in these moments. So that might be in there as well.
That's the most inspiring thing I can think of. Like, honestly, the most inspiring thing
Michael
I can
Jordan,
think of.
I took that personally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, just go play
you
every
wouldn't have to
clip.
manufacture it. It's legit. They would take it personally.
Yep, exactly. Like, everyone's doubting it. Everyone is looking at you saying, I never should have believed it was going to be different. Again, as we continue to say, they're lucky in a way that they're still playing. Like, with all of this doom and gloom and all of this doubt and all of these roller coasters for 9 straight years, these guys have another opportunity tonight to prove something different, shut everyone up. Feels like deja vu. We've said this and done this so many times before, and ultimately we got the same answer time and time again, and maybe we will again tonight, and if so, we'll cross that bridge, but maybe we won't, and maybe we won't on Sunday, and if that's the case, come Monday morning, it's going to be a completely different vibe. And there'll be a lot of people saying, I always knew. I always believed. I always knew that they would find a way.
I was just waiting for them to prove me.
Exactly.
I just need them to show me. Now, now they're the whole thing has been, and I think what the team had to do in the last 2 days, guys, really was get out of the focus that the series is virtually over and that the season is over. And Hayes, what you just said, they're still playing. Are you telling me that they can't win 2 games in a row?
Exactly. Of course they can.
Of course they can. They got to win. They had the best most road wins of any team in the history of the franchise this year. You tell me you can't win 1 game on the road? That's all you're trying to do. Win 1 game somehow, some way on the road? Like, that's, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. And I'm not saying they're going to play well. I don't even know. But, like, that's what they're trying to get to that sort of belief that let's just, focusing on the task and believing that you're up to it. And then hopefully they can let it fly. At the very least, I think a lot of people have said the way they lost and how sort of timid, frozen, paralyzed, dipping their toe in the game, that mentality, that game, I really hope they don't do that tonight. Win or lose, go down swinging.
Exactly.
Not literally, verbally. Like, to go down doing, not behind the back pass doing your thing, but just playing as hard as you possibly can. Lay it on the line, be aggressive, be bold, be smart, and then see what happens.
That's all you can do going into tonight. All right, Johnny. We'll catch you, I guess, on the other side of the long weekend. Do they have a long weekend in Sweden or what?
Well, my weekend's real long. I got 3 games tomorrow, so yeah. Thanks for asking, but it's who knows what next week could bring. We talk on Tuesday. It could be a whole new world, or it could be the end of the world of the Toronto Maple Leafs as we've known it for a decade. Will be no more. One of the 2 things is going to happen by the time next time we talk.
You're right. It's a fork in the road. We'll see which one the team takes us down. No one else. The players and the team, they will determine this. We'll chat Tuesday. Thanks, Johnny.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend.
Mike Johnson joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Drive the built-in Canada, fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4, gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com. Marty Baron still to come. Dear Hazy B coming up. The Tigers are in town. Jay's Tigers. I'm heading down there tomorrow. I'm hoping that the weather's going to be like it is today. Get that dome open tomorrow. Calling my shot. Get that dome open. All the girls, all my kids, we're all going down. Have a great time tomorrow. We're looking forward to it. The Jays got to get going, man. They lost again yesterday, a game below 500. So more on that into the next hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Marty Baron coming up in about 10 minutes. Dear Hazy V still to come. Our best bets as well on the Leaf-Panther game tonight. Jays-Tigers this evening. Jays-Tigers this weekend. You got Juan Soto back in the Bronx playing the Yankees too.
Yeah.
Mets-Yankees is just awesome, like a Subway Series. You can't beat it. But Soto against the Yankee fans are going to just destroy him. Yeah. Every time he's up at the plate. It's going to be so loud.
Yeah.
They hate him so much. And yet, you look at Soto, you get to stay in New York and you make $765 million.
Man.
So I think he's going to be okay.
He's fine. He'll live.
I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Not too worried about Juan Soto.
No.
Tracking the PGA as well. Scheffler's still out there. He's at 4 under. We got Pendrith at 3 under in the clubhouse. So we got some Canadian content. Scheffler's rocking. We got Max Homa, Matt Fitzpatrick, a couple of big names atop the board. We'll track that into the final hour. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.